Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the SocaMom Summit. I am really excited about this particular session, mainly because I don't know a lot about it. So this is going to be a session about sound clash culture. I know everyone enjoyed seeing it on IG and, you want to know what's going on. But this is special because it's from a woman's perspective. It's a heavily male-dominated thing. So we're going to hear about it from us, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. This session is going to be hosted by AMC from soulaphrodisiac.com. All things music related, and just everything. She's everything. All right, so AMC, you're on.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. Hi, guys. Hello. We are here, peoples, to talk about this, and let's talk about the title of this right here. Welcome to the Gyals Guide to Sound Clash Foundation. You have to say it right.
Guide.
So we're going to talk about our perspective, as our girl Eva just told you guys. So first of all, let's start with introductions. Ronnie, would you like to take it away?
Sure. So Ronnie Tomlinson, owner of Destine media management company, handle public relations, artist management, as well as booking. And we've been in business for a little over 7 years and handling some clients, most of the big clients in the Caribbean diaspora. So we have like Buju Banton, Movado, Taurus Riley, and the list just goes on. And I'm so happy to be here.
And next up on the list,
I am MIKELAH, no stranger to the SocaMom Summit format. Thank you guys so much for having me again. I run a website called styleandvibes.com, which is a Caribbean digital platform focused on the Caribbean American diaspora from a style, fashion, travel, music perspective. So all things Caribbean, all things style and vibes. You don't know.
Yes, all right. Island vibes. Let's go. Let's do this. We got 30 minutes to get into this. This is going to be, as usual, a great conversation. Before I jump into anything, I wanted to just give a little quick tidbit about the history. It dates back all the way to 1952, which is what it says on record for the first sound clash that actually took place. They of course originated in Jamaica. Come on, that's why we're here in Kingston. And they usually would involve a bunch of sounds that come together, neighborhood sounds that come together, or sound systems that would come together and try to basically annihilate each other with dub plates until one is left standing. So that's the condensed version. So before I even get into anything, I have to ask you guys what your vibes and words are about the sound clash that we got from Verzuz regarding with Henry Buju, Lord, with
that would be nice.
Wouldn't it though? My goodness. with Beenie Man and Bounty. What did you guys think?
So I thought it was I originally, and I had mentioned this on a podcast of mine, we have seen Buju and Beenie do this for years. If you're in the culture and you love dancehall, you know at least a brief history of their challenges, their relationship, and how they have gone to war with one another, became friends, gone to war again, and then become, friends, even more so than they were before. I think, that recognition that they got And I was really excited, especially post and even just watching the experience online specifically, because it was a really proud moment to understand. And I was excited, you know, just as a fan, to hear them going back and forth and to really have the full essence of what a clash is. I mean, Bounty came with his own doves to kill, you know, Beenie Man. Like, that is like, and I think we kind of have to take a step back. So a dove is a special song that is created lyrically to kind of diss the other counterpart that you have. So they use the music to really annihilate each other in essence. And even the idea of a sound system, the system is the speakers, you know, and whoever had the biggest, best sounding sound, like there's an art form to creating a sound system and making sure that it sounds good. You know, I remember growing up and hearing and going to parties where the sound is like, you know, 50 feet high, and you're like, the bass is, you feel the bass in your heart when you're walking to the venue. Like, that's how, you know, that's the idea of sound system. And I feel like they brought that same energy that you would feel in a dance and if you were to see this live virtually with maybe 20 people in a room. So that takes a certain level of talent and tenacity and years of experience, just being able to bring that to the table for over 480,000 plus people that were watching live. And then you have all the replays. I thought it was great.
I know you guys were banging. You were banging your wall, right? Like you were banging a furnace. I know you were. I was losing my mind, and it was my birthday that day too. So I was
yes.
And Ronnie.
So it definitely was something exciting to see. So the flyer dropped, and it was just like, what? You know, there's been buzz and people saying, yo, I wonder if they will do, you know, a Caribbean versus, and who would they pick? And everyone had their guesses and so forth. So once that flyer dropped, it was like, yes. And just to see the momentum, and everyone was just so excited, and the anticipation leading up to it. I thought all of that was great. I mean, you know, touching on what MIKELAH said, going back to remembering going to the dances, right? So one of the things that in my working with, I worked with Irish and Chen, who were the starters for World Clash, right? So World Clash is this big festive that would have numerous sounds from different parts of, you know, the world, Jamaica, and they would, you know, basically compete for the world title as that sound system. One of the things that I learned was that the dancehall, so just like how we have dancehall now and we know it as a genre, dancehall is the actual venue. So when MIKELAH says that she remembers going into the dance, that was the dance hall. You know what I mean? So that's where even that terminology came from, where you are now in the dance hall. And the reason for the dance hall is because the songs that was played in the dance hall on these sound systems weren't the ones that you were going to hear on the radio. They weren't going to play these type of songs and the type of lyrics and so forth on the radio. So you had to go to the dance hall for it. And to see a Beenie and Bounty with their history and where they're coming from, with their competitiveness, to so many years later on such a platform, it was just a great feeling. And I mean, even afterwards, all of us can see, you know, the streaming and everything that came from it. But it was an awesome feeling.
It was. It really, really was. Same thing here. Growing up, going into the dance, like dancehall, that was you had to make sure you know what frock you're gonna wear. You had to make sure you had like your hair done, the nails, everything had to be down pat. So when you're right, the systems. Listen, people, when you see the pictures or anything with a pile of speakers going up in a pyramid, that comes from a dance hall. That comes from sound clashes, because if that rhythm don't hit you from when you're walking into the dance, then you are not at a sound clash, honestly. So how did you guys come to love sound clashes? Do you actually remember the first dance that you went to? How did it affect you?
I don't remember the first dance, only because there was so many. I mean, you guys know we grew up and we party. That's what I was gonna say. You know what I mean? So we kind of just
that probably was our first.
you know what I mean? Like, I remember, having house parties and going to house parties, and that was just a cultural thing that we did. So I don't remember. I think my first like official sound clash that I went to as an adult, because for the most part we would watch them. So we would get video VHS tapes and watch the clashes that would happen in Jamaica at Sunsplash, at Sting. We weren't necessarily going to those events, but we were always in dancehall parties and stuff like that. So we understood the culture and where it came from. And really and truly, it doesn't even have to be at that level. You know what I mean? The selectors that are playing, they're like interacting with the crowd and having that call and response, and they're doing it on their own. And even they're trying to play better than the next lineup that's coming after them. Yeah. So they have to get that forward in before the next sound comes on. So we've kind of been exposed to, and Eva keeps saying she doesn't know much about sound clash culture, but she does, because as we're explaining this, I'm sure she's like, okay, yes, I know more than I think I do, because it's all part of it. The forward culture, the 2-finger gun salute, the banging on the zinc fence, those are all part of the culture that we grew up kind of just going to and understanding and learning and observing. So I honestly don't remember my first or
okay. Do you remember one that like stands at the top of your head where you were like, you came out of there? And
I remember seeing like Super Cat and Ninja Man. I remember, I remember Beenie and Bounty first. Shaba and
Ninja Man.
Ninja Man. Like Ninja Man is a warmonger. And he will clash anybody anytime. He is ready. He is someone. You think Bounty Killer is always ready? Ninja Man is always ready. Ever ready.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So he's someone who's always entertaining the crowd. And he's always entertaining to watch. So I think those are probably my first official experience was probably on a VHS tape.
Yeah. I would have to say for me, it's a similar, but I think my first time actually knowing that this is a sound clash. So yeah, growing up, my brother had his sound system, and his friends, whoever wanted to be a DJ, come and them toasting on the mic and they're doing their thing and, back and forth. But for me, it was actually knowing that this is a sound system and this is a culture was high school cassettes. So it was going from the tape man, and a friend of mine was like, yo, you have to listen to Stone Love Bass Odyssey on the tier. And you were listening on a cassette, a clash, and you were hearing the forwards, and you was hearing the thing with you were hearing the selectors and the DJ go on, and the excitement that you receive listening to this without even being in the session. No, it was just like, wow. And that also became a part of waiting for the next one. So who next? Which one? And people going to get to the cassette man. Yo, which one you have this week? So that for me was the beginning of it. And I think finally, when I actually attended one, it was I believe, I don't remember. I know Mighty Crown was in there, Tony Materon, but I can't remember. And it was three of them. But it was one of those. And just to see, first of all, for those who don't know, Mighty Crown is a Japanese sound. So having them get up on a speaker box and really with a newspaper in their back pocket, and they're speaking of the dialect and embracing the culture, it just also showed me that it's so universal, because we're all competitive. You know what I mean? Like, there's just that love, and that when we see that competition, is just, we explode. So that would have to be my first time in Queens, New York, actually attending a physical sound clash.
Okay. Mine was in Montreal. I'm a Montrealer guy.
Wow.
Born and raised in Quebec. And we have our community down, the Caribbean community. We don't play when it comes to our reggae, our soca. Every week there was something. We had Soca Palace, and then we had other outlets where you can go and you catch a show, you can catch a sound, especially sound clashes. When sound clashes came through, Montreal had their sound and sounds. There's I think it was, my first one was Stone Love I'm trying to remember the other from. I've been trying to remember the other two DJs, but
Mm-hmm.
Stone Love was the first one that I saw, and that was my introduction to everything. So then after that, I was deep in Tony Mataron. I was deep in everything else, and my brother is also a selector as well. So I sat down and did a lot of research with him before we started this convo, and we were talking for hours about all of the behind the scenes and the sound systems, which we'll get to in a minute, because I broke down the elements of a sound clash, and I wanted to just give like our favorites if we can share that with the people. So when it comes to like, let's say dub plates, we were discussing dub plates a while ago. With the dub plates, we have to keep in mind that it's the artist and the tracks, along with the mention with the sound system, are what come together with for the song itself in order for you to crush or kill your sound via the sound. So we were talking about Bounty Killer. You said he's a warmonger. Yeah, Ninja Man. We went back. We were talking about Ninja Man and Ninja Man, and who else back in the day? Super Cat even came with it. But my brother was explaining that there were the warmongers. Then you had Sanchez. You had Freddie. You had Pinchers. You had Barris Hammond, who would come for the ladies. And then you had Spraga, and then you had Terror, and then you had a whole bunch of names, and you had a whole bunch of levels that would do the sound plates for you. But of course, you wanted to come out with the Marcia Griffith. You wanted to come out with all of the really hard hitting dub plates. So, who were some of your favorite artists that you would like to hear on a dub plate?
Who are my favorite artists? I really do love hearing Bounty Killer on a dub plate. Also Spraga Benz. I like when he does dub plates. And I think what I like about the two of them as well is they make the dub plate sound unique. So, it's
intros.
The intro, it's not generic. I'm not gonna hear the same speech that I heard for a black cat that I hear for a Stone Love, or you know what I mean? Like I'm just not gonna hear it. They're gonna come with something lyrically that it was representative of that particular sound. And I think even that's just from my listening experience. We go even further back. There are certain artists who don't even voice dubs for certain sounds because they are affiliated with a particular sound. And that was the culture. Like no one else could have a dub plate by this particular artist. So those are kind of, because it also makes it special so that you hear them and it sounds amazing. Like I've heard that Marcia Griffith's dubs a million times already. I don't want to hear it again. It's not special anymore. Sorry, Marcia. We love you. But that's the thing about the culture. And I don't know if you'll get to that as it's kind of transgressed over the years is, they're not as special as they used to be because they are now being voiced for multiple people. And even for sounds that aren't clash sounds, they want their own specials. So, but those are my two favorites, Spraga and Bounty.
I would have to say, I don't know if I have, a favorite, but in the moment, usually the dubs that get me is a Bounty. And this is, a buju. So it's like when a sound draw for a buju, I say, wait,
it hard to get a dub from him. That's why. Right. It's hard.
It's true. And then I like combinations. So when I know, say, a sound is about to drop a Barris and Marcia or Alton or somebody who's passed away, you know what I mean? And they're about to drop an Alton Ellis dub. Like those is what really gets me and be like, wow, here's the craft. But as MIKELAH was saying, for me, it's the intro and just to see how some of these, even the sound men, write with the artist to put together this dub plate. That part of it I love as well.
We were discussing the history. My brother and I were discussing the history as we were talking about Bounty and Beanie's history, because I think a lot of people don't understand how far back that goes. and it goes all the way back, and I had no idea to Addis when it was
Was it Weep How?
Bounty.
Oh no.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was. I want to make sure that I get that right. I think it was Bounty who had a fallout with somebody. Oh, who was it? Bounty had a fallout with Addis, so he did not do dub plates for that sound, and Beanie only did sounds for Kilimanjaro. I think it was yeah, it goes all the way back, and then it was one of the catalysts that started this whole war thing, and this is why they started going back and forth, and then it started going from there. But there's a lot of history behind some of these feuds and some of these things that go all the way back, which we won't get into today. You guys, Google is your friend. Also, so let's get into sound systems. Going into some sound systems and sound, let's say back in the day, those are the ones that I could rhyme off from the top of my head. Some Stone Love, you had King Tubby, Bodyguard, Kilimanjaro. David Ruddigan is very well respected in the UK. There's a really large reach for reggae, and I don't think a lot of people understand the foundation. Like reggae is the foundation for hip hop, for ska, and so many other different forms of music, not just reggae itself. So can you tell me or give me some insight on your views on how Jamaican music, Jamaica to the world, right? How Jamaican music has shaped some of the stuff that we hear today.
I mean, you brought up a lot of good, and I don't even know if we have time to cover all of the impacts.
I know.
But just the idea of having two turntables, right? So, you know, the beat itself came from the transition of two records that were the same. And if you go further back, the reason why that they would almost create a new sound from those two records, and for the most part, they were records being shipped to Jamaica from the US, and the UK. So a lot of those are like R&B, pop songs that they would kind of blend together to create a sound. And then you have the mixmen are what we would call a DJ, or they would come and toast over those, and they created those rhythms. I mean, that is the foundation of hip hop. So, and Kool Herc is Jamaican, and he basically saw that, you know, and brought that to the Bronx, and that's really how it kind of spawned. And then if you think about, you know, the dembow rhythm, you know, and it's it's basically the backbone of reggaeton. So, you know, you have all the different sounds that kind of were created from this one little, and I don't even want to say little, and we look about with Talawa. This one island, and you know, it just spawned. It's like, you know, I've always heard it described as, you know, it's a foundation, and everything else is kind of like the branches. So that's kind of how I think of a lot of the genres, and it's just coming back full circle, I think. And people are, I think a lot of producers really understand the history, how it came about, the idea of sampling, the idea of covers, and you know what I mean? Like that, all of that really is out of this entire movement that we have here. So I think it's important to kind of understand that the people understand that history too, because I come across a lot of producers who really know the history, and they know where it comes from and why and how. So it's just up to us to really continue to have the conversations and make sure that everyday people understand how it kind of transpired the way that it has.
And as you know, we're mentioning producers, and we're talking about the history. One of the things was producers would create these rhythms, and the artist would now, the sound system became the vessel for in order to get the music out. So an artist now sit at a studio, they're at a studio, and let's say King Jammy's, and King Jammy have his sound. But how are you going to get the music out? Because once again, it's not playing on the radio. So King Jammy has, you know, his numerous artists to go on the road with him at night. So whether they go, you know, different venues and they're singing, they're toasting that on the sound system. And that's how they're getting it. They're getting their music out. And the forward that they receive from the crowd makes them, you know, wow, this is big. Or their career now becomes an official artist. You know what I mean? So that's just also something for people to know, that it really started too as well, where producers were creating rhythms. They needed a vessel to get their music out, and they had the artist who was just there and hungry and ready, jump up on the speaker box on the trucks, traveling through the island and getting it out. And also, you know, as we talk about the hip hop culture, one of the things that I realized was that back in the days before with sound systems, the sound was what was the name. You know, it wasn't about the DJs or the artists, I should say. It wasn't about them. It was about the sound. And when you look at how it came over with hip hop culture, it was also about, you know, let's say like DJ Jazzy Jeff. So it became that person. You know what I mean? It became that person. I'm trying to think. The other thing that I wanted to just talk about was how artists, even with like the Bounty Killer, Beenie Man, and them becoming so competitive, you know, when I remember recently watching the interview with Killer, and sometimes it's not even planned. You know, sometimes it's just not even planned, but it's so a part and ingrained. And like you said, Google is your friend, but it's so ingrained in them. There was at an event with Stone Love, a weekly event, and a selector said something, and boom, that's it. Beenie Man walks out, the competition starts. So also, it can just be something that's just so impromptu.
True. I think earlier we were talking about how stepping into the dance, you were going into the dance hall, right? Dance hall has become a terminology that has grown over the years to encompass everything that happens within the dance, including the music. So you were saying, MIKELAH, that it's transitioned so much that it's kind of, I don't want to say it's become watered down, but to me, I feel like it has. I just remember being in dance halls and you're hearing the rhythm and the basses and the lyrics. Everybody is killing out the lyric song, you know, word for word. And I feel like the energy hasn't kind of carried on over the years. So both of you, what is your perspective on the dance hall, and not necessarily just the culture, but more so the music and the energy and the vibe, how it's transitioned over the years?
Well, I think it's just changed. It's just like you said, it's different, and it had to change and grow because that's what we do as people. It just, I mean, dancehall in the 70s is different from dancehall in the 80s, is different from the 90s, is different from the 2000s. So this evolution has been happening, and especially with technology in the space, I think what you're kind of really referring to is the music always reflective of that feeling? And no, that isn't the case, but it's harder to capture the feeling of an entire experience when you really just need to experience it. You know what I mean? And I think we're putting a lot of emphasis on the music, but we're not putting enough emphasis on the experience. The experience itself has changed. You know, you're not seeing as many dance hall experiences outside of small communities in Jamaica. You know what I mean? They're being closed off. I mean, Raytown still carries on. You know, those older parties, some of them still do happen, but they're now a nostalgic moment or an everyday happening for people who live within the community. So, you know, it's changed in terms of its experience. And I don't know if we'll ever get that back, but will be able to kind of change the way that it's experienced. You know, if dancehall had a proper venue, is it the same experience? No, because I've been in clubs, you know, in we go to clubs in we talk about the Sound Clash in Queens, you know, we go to Amazura. That's, you know, it's a nice spot, but it's not the same experience as experiencing it when you're in Jamaica and going into an actual dance hall. There's no zinc fence. There's a door that you go and you open. You know, the peanut man is outside. You know, the weed is selling outside. The soup man is outside. Whereas, you know, all of those experiences are in the actual dance hall space. So that has changed, you know, and we don't get to necessarily experience unless you're having like an outdoor venue, and even like block parties and things
even
that
then
happen.
Yeah,
you know, it's not happening like they used to. I remember going to stuff in the Bronx. I live in the Bronx, so you know, all of those things used to happen around the corner, but those things are getting shut down left and right. And I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I'm a woman of a certain age, so I'm more on my bedside. So, but it's also, you want to experience those without and you know, not lose that experience. So the music doesn't necessarily reflect that, because that space has changed. You know, artists are no longer going to dances to break their music. They're no longer doing the dance hall space first and then recording. They're going to the studio first, releasing it on the internet, and then if I feel like it, getting to a party. And I'm only going to that party if I'm paid, or I'm offering money for people to play my song. And I know this isn't everybody's experience. It's different for everyone. And, you know, Ronnie, you're much closer to that than I am in terms of new music and its releasing. But that used to be a completely different experience for artists. You used to have to get your skills up, wait till somebody hands you the mic, get on the mic, and then maybe if you do well, then you can get to the studio. Then even when you're in the studio, you have to voice and listen and just be a hermit and a sponge and take up all that information that you're getting just by observing. And then you would be able to, getting in the booth then was a commodity. Right now, everyone has access. I could buy a computer. I could buy a microphone.
Do it right there.
And do it with my Mac computer. And I can release it on SoundCloud. And I can bypass that whole experience because I don't have to do that anymore.
The access is different. Totally, yeah.
Definitely. I would definitely have to agree. For me, I think the access, not only for the artist, but for us too, the patron, is different. There was a time when you look forward to going to the record store to purchase that record. That was an event in itself, you know, and turning on the A side, the B side, going home, cleaning the needle, playing that song. Like you didn't hear that moment. For you to play that record was another moment. So I think the experience, even before getting into the dance hall, is something that's missing. But of course, times change, things evolve. The artists themselves are no longer taking those steps, right? So they're not taking the steps to actually groom and excite their audience anymore. It's just like, yo, throw it out there, make we see how much views we get. Yo, how the YouTube stay? We get 1 million views. All right, let me charge 10,000. You know, it's one of that. So it's like, okay, well, there's kind of a few steps that kind of skip. So how are you grooming your artist? Your audience? How are you making your audience become excited to be a part of that experience? Back then, with the sound systems and the artists traveling with the sounds and so forth, the people they stood in front of or performed in front of became fans. You know, they look forward to seeing this artist. I remember hearing stories of even, which I don't even know if many of us knew, well, I didn't know, Pinches and Sanchez, their type of a, you know, battle, you know, not even, and it was over vocals. And that alone kind of propelled their career, you know. So I think those are some of the things that we are missing. Definitely the experience, but even for us, we get things so quickly. You know, we don't even have it. Music is not even tangible anymore. You know, it's like, oh, out there. So it's like, okay, great. Who's dropping this week? And we become so bored. You know, it's like, what's next? Who's next? So I think those are also some of the things, but I haven't figured out just yet how it is that you bring that excitement back. You know, for Verzuz, there was that excitement. It was there. And I don't think it's just because we were all quarantined for 3 months. Yeah, it had a part to do with it, but it was there. That excitement came back. Everyone knew. So I don't know, maybe it was the longevity. And I think, MIKELAH, I don't know, maybe you could talk about it. Maybe we knew the history between Beenie and Bounty that also brought something to it. We knew what we were about to expect or to get from both men, which then goes back to even the artists not building their fans the right way.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it too, the idea of performing in front of a crowd, I always joke, like, you can't pull up your own music. You can't pull up your own You can't forward your own. The forward is the ratings and reviews of Amazon in a dancehall. And it cannot be that you as an artist pull up your own song. Because you needed the crowd to endorse you by cheering in a manner that caused that excitement. And I think that holistically is missing, because now you can just comment and move on to the next one. Whereas you sit in a forward for a minute, and it's almost like like I had to go back and watch Verzuz again, like 2 or 3 times, because there were things that I missed because I was banging on the
carrying on.
Miss Bounty, like ad-libs. Like those are the moments that you want to experience. And so that forward is missing, and that's the interaction with the crowd that Ronnie, you were talking about. It's just like you don't necessarily have that yet until you get in front of a crowd. But that now that getting in front of a crowd is a delayed moment.
Yes.
So
yeah. I think what the exciting to add to the excitement that you were talking about, Ronnie, is the fact that them two artists were able to groom their crowd, as you said, over the years, and it also, both of them have crossover success. So a lot of them, what I was really happy about was that everyone, it wasn't just us and the Caribbean culture and Jamaica, it was everybody.
Everyone
was up on that because they know them from hip hop. They know them from, pop music collaboration. So all in all, everybody was ready to enjoy that. And the fact that we got both of them actually performing, that was a concert. That was a live concert that they put on. That was dope in itself.
You can do that same thing again. I mean, pay for it.
Hello, I would do.
Ready.
Yes. And they were saying that for a while. Verzuz kept on saying, maybe we should do it on another platform and get off Instagram and actually charge people to come in. And I'm like, why don't you? Because I think people would actually pay the money. Next time, like get a soca. I don't know who can go up against my show really, but get a soca like artist. Get 2 of them, let them come together, let them do it. Get another Jamaican artist, another 2 to come up and do it. We will pay for that.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, I'm going to hit y'all. Lastly, we have to give these people a few sounds to check out, and it could be sounds from now, it could be presents, or it could be back in the day, but I guess you should start with back in the day because we want everybody to kind of learn and listen to some of the clashes from before and get the gist of it. So who are a few of your favorite sounds?
Actually, my favorite sound is not a clashing sound. Renaissance is my favorite sound, and they don't clash. I also like Stone Love. I like Rodigan, Kilimanjaro, Afrique. Those were ones that I grew up listening to. I love Mighty Crown. I'm glad you mentioned them, Ronnie. Oh my gosh, I saw them on the first time they did the Welcome to Jamrock Reggae cruise, and that was the first clash that they had on that cruise, and then mash it up. Them get on the place, and it's nice to see. Like, I don't know if I should have been embarrassed or it was nice to see, because they had to really engross themselves in the culture. See, a Japanese man getting out there and tell them about them BC and them something like it was highly entertaining, and it was not on some on some like appropriation thing at all.
Right.
Like, they are like into.
Mhm.
They pay that respect. They have studied the culture. I just, I hope that a lot of sounds out of the Caribbean and Jamaica specifically really study their own culture the way that other countries study
So
our
important.
culture. And show up in that same manner. Don't show up thinking that anybody else is not going to be prepared. They're going to be overly prepared, because in order for them to even step in at the place, them have something to add to the conversation. So don't underestimate nobody for sure.
Japan has a huge reggae contingency up there. They do not play, and now soca, so they do not play. When
It's
it
my
comes to the
mission. Like whenever I travel somewhere, I always seek out something Jamaican in that country, because there's usually always something. You go anywhere in the country, in the world, and say you're Jamaican, they have a little bar, they have a little party, they have this eatery over here. More allied, more say allied.
They know the vibes.
For me, I would say someone that should check out, I guess, for like history purposes of Sound Clash would be King Jammy, because you would know that he's definitely a very popular producer, but hearing, where that sound culture came from, he also had a sound system with a lot of the artists who we hear about today. Other sounds now would definitely be LP International. Let me see, King Addies. King Turbo. Let's talk about Canada.
Yeah.
Really, and listen, King Turbo is dope because the way they cut, they're really good, really good. Who else? There would be Heavy Hammer from Italy. They're really good. They're known for their combinations, like combination kings. They don't play when it comes. And there's a few more definitely that I know I'm missing. Black Cat, Poison Dart from out of Florida. They're really good. So those would be some of the ones that I would mention.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's Kilimanjaro. Excuse me, I seem to be losing my voice. Yeah, Kilimanjaro, definitely. Stone Love, definitely.
Yeah.
And David Ruddigan. I have respect for that one there, boy, because geez, I always remember. Wow, I'm speechless, because sometimes I listen to his dub plays and the way he plays, and he always has an antidote for everything. From when he was growing up, he has a story, and then he'll just drop a dub plate, and you're like, "What did he do? What?"
Yes.
That story. It was 1962.
Right. Yes.
That's exactly what he comes in, and then just drop a plate and just stand there doing his skank, and that's it.
Yes. And when he took off his jacket and roll up him sleeve, then man take off him hat, and then push up his jacket, it's a big number come.
Yes.
I have enough respect for that cat. I really do. And I'm a big Tony Matron fan too, because I sweat in a dance hall with that one boy. He is dope. He's dope. I think that there is a lot of history, guys, that we can get into, and we will be here for a while. But like I said, we all said earlier, Google is your friend. We tried to deliver as much as we could in the time that we have, and we hope that we were able to give you guys some guidance as to where to start, where to jump in, and really take in the whole culture. Get it in. So actually, as we're parting, let's talk about what we have coming up. Any goodies for the people? Let them know where they can find you on the socials. Who would like to start?
Mine is short and sweet. Fearless love. Let me go first. No, you guys just check out silentvibes.com. Please subscribe to the podcast. It's a bi-weekly podcast. So I release an episode every 2 weeks, and it's either an interview, it can be recapping something. I did an episode on Verzuz. I just did an interview with DJ Kurt Riley, who was one of the DJs for the Verzuz. We have a lot of different conversations. Dance Advocate, Maria Hitchens was on there recently. Some really great conversations that I have on there. So if you do nothing else, please subscribe to the podcast or just check out styleandvibes.com. I have new articles, new stuff. Follow me on social at Style and Vibes everywhere.
So first, I want to say thanks for having me again. And also for me, pretty much working with a few of the artists. I have quite a few projects coming out. We have Buju's coming out with his album. Album name is Upside Down. So definitely look out for that. I also have projects with Taurus Riley and Jamil that will be coming out with a project. Their EP will be coming out. You know, I've noticed that many of them are really just hunkered down and just being creative right now. So, you know, most of my clients are definitely really busy. And just look me up on Destine Media or my social platforms, and feel free to send me a DM, ask a question, and I'll respond.
Go.
What you got going on, AMC?
What do I have going on? It's a busy time. I'm trying to get my podcast up and running. So you guys will be hearing about a podcast very soon. New podcast. You can find all of my rants and raving on soulaphrodisiac.com. I'm usually posting there new stuff or things that move me. You'll find that there about music, entertainment, culture. I'm also a freelance writer. So right now, as you all know, we're in the thick of things. So I have a lot of pieces that are coming out. But again, you'll be able to find everything on soulaphrodisiac.com. And if you're looking for any work, I'm a copywriter and an editor. I'm looking for work, actually. So you can find me on soulaphrodisiaccopy.com, and I'll be able to help you with any of your creative content needs. And that's it from us three over here.
Yes.
Eva?
Thank you so much. This was fun, of course.
Always a good time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm back. Okay, so
Hey.
you're right. I know more than I thought I did. I did. I was like, oh, I'm not in the stream. Oh, that's fine. I know that. Okay. I'm all right. But I learned a lot. And I did hear some names that I hadn't heard before, but a lot that I have. The 90s was
It's a good time.
Pretty prolific time, apparently. So
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Oh my gosh. So I have one question. Are there any women's voices that we should be looking out for as well?
There was.
Or should people like start to think about putting their voice out there? What are they going to do? What do we do?
I've seen not at the level of the men, but I caught a glimpse of Major Hype at one time was doing some sound clashes.
Yeah.
And he had a few females on there. And the same female, she was on another one. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But she was pretty dope. I can't remember her name. Dang it. Maybe if y'all keep talking, I'll try to figure out.
I know.
She was based in Jamaica.
There is Tasha Roses, I believe it is. Then there was 360 Ladies. But those are the only that I can remember. I know that there was, I don't know if it's the one, MIKELAH, that you're talking, she was on the radio in Jamaica, or she is on the radio. And she actually was doing the clash as well. Man, what's her name?
I cannot remember her name for the life, but she was pretty good. And Major Hype remove all his clashes.
And that's something that's interesting as to why there may not be as many, but that's a whole nother conversation.
So
female
now that
sounds.
We have learned what we need to know, women can start to figure out how to get their voices in there and maybe reach out to you guys to find out where to start and what to do, what to start thinking about?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more challenging only because there aren't necessarily sound systems anymore. A lot of DJs that I know that are female, they're just DJs by themselves.
Right.
So I don't think it takes a whole lot to get started, but a lot of times DJs female DJs in the business are just trying to ensure that they get equal amount of pay. For the same events that they do and bring it just as much as the men. It's unfortunately still a very male dominated industry. I can't say that I've even heard a lot of female DJs outside of me listening to mixtapes. I think DJ Maya is one that I've seen. She's based out in Brooklyn. And then there's a few, I can't remember off the top of my head. And most of them, they DJ, but they don't necessarily play in the clash space.
Right.
I don't know. I think we have the ability. There's definitely. So I think it's interesting. As much walkout song as we have Métier,
right,
that like it could get ugly. So it could be very interesting. So I think it could happen. You never know. I think this mind got me a little loose.
There's so many things.
Anything is possible.
Things have been happening during this pandemic. You don't know what's going to come next. No idea.
It's a huge opportunity. I think the door is open. They just got to keep it in.
And I know of Poison Dart hired a female selector, but for actual on their own. And she's wicked. She is dope. I can't remember her name, but I remember seeing her recently, on an IG live clash alongside Kirky C. But yeah, she's really good.
Has anybody taken in any of Walshy Fire's sound clashes?
I did.
I have.
Those
are good.
Yeah, I haven't taken any in yet. But I
took in some of the earlier ones. I know he just did a pay-per-view one. So basically he did I thought it was really smart. He did a almost like kind of like how Irish and Chin would do it. They would, have different sounds go against each other. And then at the end, there was a pay-per-view based on, you can't do the forward thing. So they had like voting for each. So each week, I think for a series of like 5 or 6 weeks, he had 2 different unknown sounds battle each other from across the globe, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Germany, Ireland, India. Like it wasn't just Caribbean based. So I actually wanted to go back and kind of watch them just to get to know some of the sounds a little bit better. Yeah, Israel. I think the pay-per-view one was like India and a sound from India and a sound from Israel, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
That kind of were the last in that running. So like I said, it's anybody's game. So I think females have the opportunity to do so, but they also need the dub plates. You know what I mean? So you gotta go out, you gotta pay for those too. So in an industry where they're trying to get work and get equal pay, that might come before getting a dub plate. So
well, ladies, this has been fantastic. AMC, thank you so much for moderating this and getting all of the information from these fantastic ladies. My goodness, you all are a wealth of knowledge. This was so good. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the SocaMom Summit. I hope you have enjoyed the session so far, and you will enjoy the sessions coming up. Ladies, thank you and have a fabulous day.
Thank you, Eva. Bye, guys.